Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unit 2, Lesson 4. Last lesson, we learned how to graph in slope-intercept form. Today, we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to start writing equations. So this is the first of two lessons where we're going to write equations. We'll start with slope-intercept form. Just recall what that was. It was y equals mx plus b. Now, you might think that there's four variables in this. There's actually not. The variables in this equation are x and y. What makes them variables is that it's because those values change within the same problem. The other letters, so m and b, those are not variables, but rather numbers that need to be filled in for each problem. The reason they're just they look like variables because they're letters, but those values, once you find them, they don't change within the problem. They are constant. All right. So m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Once you find the slope and you know the slope, that slope is the same in the problem. Same with the y-intercept. All right. So therefore, what we need to do in each problem is we need to find the values of m and b and plug them into our equation. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to find m and we're going to find b. Now, this one today, not too hard. Tomorrow it might get a little harder, but let's go ahead and get today's done. So yesterday, what we did was we graphed. Just a reminder, the y-intercept and the slope, we wanted to find those first. So m is 1/3, b was -4. So we go down to 4, put a dot. From that dot, we go up 1, right 3. Can do it again. Go the opposite way. If I go back to the y-intercept, I can go down 1, left 3. And we got our line. All right, so we started with an equation. And finished with the graph. That's what we did yesterday. And how we did that was we identified the slope and y-intercept. That's what we just did here and here. We plot the y-intercept, the b value, and then we use the slope to find another point on the line. That's what we did yesterday. Today, we're working backwards. Today, we're going to write the equation from the graph, and we'll finish the front side here with that line. So I'll actually go down to the process first. We start with the graph and finish with the equation. How do we do that? We identify the slope and y-intercept from the graph, insert those values in the correct spots in the equation, and then we write the equation. So what I mean by that is, okay, so here's y equals blank x plus blank. Like I said at the beginning of the notes, we're looking to fill in m and b. Once we do that, we have our equation. So if we can identify those slope and the y-intercept from the graph, we put them in the right spots, and then we write the equation. So like I said, this one's not too hard today if you know where to look. So the y-intercept in this problem is where it crosses the y-axis, so it's right there at +2. So the b value is +2, and that goes right there. The slope is the counting, and we did this in lesson 2. Down 1, 2, 3. So down 3 is -3. And then over to the right, +2. So we just leave it just like that, -3/2. And then I'm going to rewrite that without the lines on the line up here. So it's y equals -3/2x. Don't forget the x, that's a big deal, plus 2. Right? And that's what we're doing today. So we're going to go to the back and do some practice. So write the line in slope-intercept form. Today we're going to write everything in slope-intercept form. Little foreshadowing for tomorrow. So our equation, again, we want to do, I'm going to try to get used to doing this. Just need those two blanks. Well, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. It's all the way down there at -6. The slope, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4. Up 4 is +4. Right 2. That can be reduced. So the slope here is just 2 or 2 over 1. So we get the equation y equals 2x minus 6. Next one. The y-intercept is actually crossing right in the middle, so it's 0. So I can put 0 right there. The slope, go down 1. So down 1 is left, negative 1, and then right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So negative 1 over 6. Now I will show you plus 0. I don't need to write that. So the most simplified way of writing this is y equals negative 1/6 x. And that's done. You can, if you put plus 0, I'm not going to count off though. All right. 3 and 4. You can see we're kind of just doing this on repeat right now. So y equals blank x plus blank. Y-intercept here is 2. The slope, down 1, 2, 3, down 3. Right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I will show you one of the common mistakes that a lot of people make. So they'll go y equals negative 3/5 plus 2. And what did we leave out? Well, hopefully you see that we left out the x. I will count off every time you do that. Please do not do that. Make sure you get that x in there. Okay. Last one's a weird one. It's a vertical line. So if I'm trying to write this equation, I don't have a y-intercept. This will never cross the y-axis because it's parallel to it. So there's no y-intercept. The slope is up 4 over 0. I can't have over 0. The slope is undefined. So what do we do here? Well, you got to think back to what we talked about. When you have a vertical line, they always start with x equals. And what does x equal on that line? Well, it equals positive 3. This is one of those special cases you just kind of have to remember. Okay. If it was a horizontal line, it would start with y equals. Now, word problems. You're doing the exact same thing you just did with the graph, only with a word problem. You're doing the exact same thing in that you're trying to find the slope and you're trying to find the y-intercept. If you can do that, you can make your equation and then answer some questions from it. And that's what we're going to do here. So Terrence makes $8.75 per hour at his job. Assume he has $110 saved already. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that represents this situation. So what is the slope and what does it mean? So slope is something per something. We talked about that in unit or lesson 1 with the rate of change. So something per something. So his slope here is $8.75. And what it is it's amount made per hour. So that in this problem, that's what the slope means. So $8.75 is what he makes per hour. The y-intercept is what he starts with. So the y-intercept here is 110. So it's the amount he starts with. So when x equals 0, now we got to talk about what x and y mean here in a second. Let me finish writing this. So when I write my equation, I've got y equals 875x plus 110. Now we got to talk about what x and y stand for, because they are variables and they still stand for something. We got to define those variables in this problem. So x, it's 875 per hour. So x is number of hours. And then once you have the number of hours, you can figure out how much he has. So y equals total money. We'll say that. These are very helpful in answering the questions that follow. All right, so we've got that equation. Using the equation, how much would Terrence have if he works for 25 hours? So I'm giving you an x value. And I'm asking for how much would he have? That's a y value. And that's the question. So I'm looking for a y value using the x. So I can use my equation, y equals, he's making 875 per hour, and you multiply that by 25, and then add the 110 that he already had, and you get how much he has at that point. So 875 times 25 plus 110, he ends up with $325, or sorry, $328.75. Okay, so that's the answer to the first one. What about the second one? Let's say Terrence now has $600. That is a total amount, so that's a Y value. How many hours did he work? So how many hours? The question here is an X value. So we're looking for X and we have Y. So when we use our equation, I'm gonna put 600 in for Y. Okay, so we have to account for the 110. So we have to subtract that from both sides. So 600 minus 110 is 490. Let's see, I'm running out of space here. So what that means is he's made $490 from his job. And then you add that to the 110 that he already has. You figure out that he, yeah. So 490 divided by 8.75, you get 56. So 56 what? He has worked for 56 hours. All right. And that concludes the first lesson on writing equations. We're going to move on to second lesson with that next, and it will get a little more challenging, and you'll see why soon.